to our first episode of Super Special Mamas. I am your host, Pre, and I am so excited to be here today with Dr. Carliss Miller, a courage coach, a brave space facilitator, and NLP training practitioner, and the founder of the Reclaimed Voice Beta Experience. And we will go into detail into all of those great things about Dr. Carliss Miller. Welcome to Super Special Mamas.
I am so excited to be here. This is probably one of my favorite topics, especially right now. And I'm also excited that I'm your first guest.
Yes, thank you so much. So, we spoke a little bit beforehand talking about Super Special Mamas, and the goal of Super Special Mamas is to create a community where super special mamas of super special kiddos can find a community where we can feel seen, feel heard, and just relax, relate, release if we need to, cry if we need to, scream if we need to, because being a special needs mom is hard. It is very hard, and sometimes it sucks, right? But we can't say that because we feel guilty. So this is a place where you can say that and not feel guilty, right? And
Safe
just talk
space.
about the journey together. And so the plan is to have different guests from special needs moms, mental health experts, and experts like yourself that will come on here and tell us about what ND is. I said ND, but for those that are watching, what is ND?
ND is neurodivergent, and
Neurodivergent.
neurodivergent is almost like it sounds. Our brains are wired in a way that are not what we would say neurotypical according to some standard, but neurodivergent because we're processing information, processing stimuli, processing the environment, and responding in ways that are considered atypical. And there's a super wide umbrella of what falls under what one would consider neurodivergence. Some of the common neurodivergent identities are ASD, autism spectrum, which so I have experience with that. I'm not autistic, but my son is, and he was diagnosed when he was 3. We have this dyspraxia. Tourette's syndrome is considered also under the neurodivergent umbrella. Dyslexia, different way of learning. And then another common one that you probably hear a lot of is the ADHD, which in and of itself can be broken down in many different ways. So for me, I really came to embrace my ND and neurodivergent identity really through being a mom, supporting my kids, helping them try to thrive and navigate life, and me now trying to navigate teachers and school boards and resources and therapists. I started to also see myself a little bit. I also recognized that I wasn't taken care of in the same way that I'm caring for them to make sure that they have all that they need in life. So for my neurodivergent identities, I have the ADHD PI, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, but the predominantly inattentive type. Whereas my daughter is like ADHD, the combination form, she's driven by a motor. Like she's on like all the time. And me, I'm like, so I always say our ADHD's energy don't match. While she or my son may be sensory seeking, I'm sensory avoiding. But as a mom, I have to suppress what my needs may be to take care of my children. I also have generalized anxiety disorder, which falls under the ND umbrella. My children are what they call 2E, twice exceptional, which means they're gifted learners in something else under that umbrella. And the thing that I've learned about neurodivergent and neurodivergent traits is they typically run in packs. It's hardly ever just one thing. You may have one main diagnosis, but there'll be other things that come along with it too.
What symptoms did you recognize that you needed to explore to come to the realization, or I don't want to say diagnosis, right?
I
That you're
mean, I did have to have
neurodivergent.
a diagnosis.
Okay.
I mean, to be able
Okay.
to get certain resources, certain types of help that you may want insurance to cover, I mean, it does require an evaluation and diagnosis. I didn't recognize that in myself.
Okay.
I have been weird or awkward my entire life. I just thought that
Same.
was part of my
Same.
personality,
Same. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I would say I was late diagnosed, and it was my professor Because when I was doing my PhD, it was one of my professors who recognized some things. And one of her best friends was a psychologist, and she just really understood neurodiversity and things like this in a deeper level. So I guess I was fortunate in the sense that, I'm studying organizational behavior, which is basically like organizational psychology. So I'm studying human behaviors, and then, there's like the individual level. So I'm not a psychologist. I'm looking at this, from the context of teams and groups and how we exist in organizations, but then also dealing with myself. So for me, the PhD process, my first year, it was a complete wake up call, and it challenged me in ways that I couldn't anticipate, wasn't prepared for. Growing up, if I would read the same paragraph or the same sentence in a paragraph over and over again, no biggie. You'll eventually pick it up. In a doctoral program, nah, it's no, I need to move on because I have like 200 additional pages that I need to try to read and digest and understand and try to make connections to. The repetitive reading over and over again, that was one thing. The easy distractibility was another symptom that stood out. The rejection sensitivity dysphoria that may sometimes feel for neurodivergent individuals, it's like a hypersensitivity. The fear of rejection or the thought that you're being dismissed or rejected, you feel it on a totally different level. Thinking that I was procrastinating, I wasn't procrastinating, I wasn't lazy, I was just having a hard time moving on certain things. Like I realized that I could really excel like at genius level, hyper focus on certain things, and then other things, I just didn't matter what you would do, I just couldn't do it. Or I wake up 6 o'clock in the morning and still be late for something because in my mind, I have this time blindness where I just think I can do all the things. So my professor asked me, have you ever talked to a doctor about ADHD? And I'm like, ma'am, I'm Black. We don't do that. Right. But because I was struggling so much and I started to question, is a PhD right for me? Is it because of my age, that I'm older because I've been working? Like, I've been able to do all these things. Why am I not able to do this? Met with the psychologist that was part of the college, and she took me through a series of assessments, gave me, diagnosis, and introduced me to a psychiatrist. As a student, that was when I began to understand and began to be able to receive help and support for how I could thrive exactly the way my brain functions.
What are some of the practical tools, or what did you have to do, like, to learn how to focus on that thing that you couldn't do? What I think about is when it comes to ADHD, is the example of the computer with the million tabs open, right? Like all of the things, because I'm looking at mine right now, there's like 20 tabs that I have, like all these different things that I need to do. And I do have a hard time trying to focus on getting things done the same way. Like, how do you dial it in?
Honestly, it's an ongoing practice. It's something that I still work on today because at different stages, you have different things that help. So at that time, when I was first diagnosed, or first trying to say like, ooh, how do I do what I need to do? I was single. I wasn't dating. I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. I only had to care for myself. So I was able to kind of journal or pay attention to my body's rhythms. Like, when am I most alert? When am I most alive? Getting the hardest things done, or the things that require all of my brain and willpower to be fully on, doing the hardest task that I had during those hours when I felt like my brain and my energy and my body were most alert and most awake.
Yes, gotcha.
And then, when it wasn't as alert, so I'll tell you, I am not a morning person. Now, I can stay up all night. I can stay up real late. So, there's peace. I can stay up all late, but I'm not a morning person. So doing the most difficult task that requires everything to be firing off on all cylinders, trying to do that at 8 o'clock in the morning, it just would not work for me. So instead, what I would do during those types of times is like the admin kind of stuff, very routine, repetitive. It's not going to require so much of my creativity or my thinking, but it's just stuff that I got to do. Pomodoro technique worked for me. I do this with my son. It's based on operant conditioning, the short-term sacrifice, long-term reward, or thinking about what is my preferred activity, but what's my least preferred activity, doing that first with the carrot, the reward of doing my preferred activity next. So it's something I have to tell myself, like, all right, Carliss, you could code these variables, you could code this, whatever the task is, pay your bills, put together a budget. The stuff that you got to do but you don't want to do. Like, if I do this, then I can reward myself either with some type of treat that I want, ice cream,
Right.
TikTok scroll for about 10 minutes,
Right.
something that I can look forward to, or doing, that more preferred activity. Like, oh, if I just get this out of the way, then I get to work on brainstorming about that new project or that new idea. So it works that way with children as well, depending on where they are cognitively. So before my son could verbalize his needs and his desires, I had to, in the same way I had to figure out my own rhythms, I had to figure out his rhythms as well. And so I knew, like, all right, him getting to an iPad, he will do whatever it takes to get to that iPad. So, all right, today we're going to practice learning how to tie our shoes, which is a very difficult task. So if you put in 10 minutes towards this effort, once this timer goes off, because they have to connect the timer, the stimulus, to the thing so that they know the reward is coming. So same thing with adults. If I set a timer for 30 minutes, I'm going to do this thing that I don't really want to do, but I know I need to do it. And then when that timer goes off, it's like connects with my brain, like, all right, check that box, move on to something that you really enjoy. It's also like a dopamine. And, getting pregnant is like, I had to relearn myself and my body all over again. My natural rhythms, it just didn't matter anymore. It mattered what the baby's needs and rhythms were.
Let's backtrack a little bit, because with the podcast, one of my goals, of course, is to spend a little bit of time talking about our kiddos, right? Our super special kiddos. They occupy the majority of our time, right? We become moms, we become advocates, we're fighting for them. Our whole life revolves around them, right?
Yeah.
But on our podcast, I want to talk about you. And the question that I have is, who were you before? Exactly, right? We have stories. We had lives. We did some amazing things. And I'm pretty sure you have stories to tell that you'll tell your grandkids, right? So tell me a little bit who Carliss was before she became Dr. Carliss. Just anything. Like, who were you before? What were your goals? What were your dreams before the husband and the kids came along?
That's funny. I was on the journey to becoming Dr. Miller before I had the kids. When I got married and when I was having my first baby, I took a break. I took a hiatus. And the question was, would I return? I was actually pretty determined. I was on this journey before y'all came into the mix. And I wanted to be an example to my daughter that, as life happens, if this is for you, if you still feel like this is what you're called to do, it may look different or to have to be a little different, but I actually finished with my babies. I had my second baby unexpectedly during my doctoral program. Oops, baby. That was Carliss before. I was always kind of what's my purpose? What's my mission in life? Mission seeker, purpose seeker. How can I make a difference? But how can I also have fun while doing it? I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna play hard. I'm gonna travel. I want to see the world. I grew up only seeing the world in books. I hung out at the library a lot because the way that my parents worked. It was me, the library. Nerdville heaven, but I would explore the world through books. And so when I became a professional, that's what I was doing. Exploring the world, but for real. I don't do that as much anymore.
Favorite place to travel, or your most memorable experience? And as soon as you get the opportunity, you're going back.
Jeez, okay. I don't know. Well, I think Guatemala was my most memorable trip. I went there with my friends and a colleague from work, and her husband was actually from there, and they had bought a property there. It was most memorable because even though they were a married couple, I was single. Not that made much of a difference, but I could just move around, without having to think about anyone else. And what was fascinating about it, that was the first time I had been anywhere for 3 weeks of time. I was there over Christmas break, so I was able to experience Christmas in a different culture, a different country. My friends wouldn't talk to me in English, so I was forced to figure out how to make my way in Spanish, not knowing any Spanish. I mean, just like a little bit. I was able to see how, his family, how giving and gracious and kind they were to me as a guest. They didn't, some of his family didn't have much, but what they did have, because I was their guest, they wanted to share it with me. So being able to step outside of my own culture, my own environment, my own comfort zone, and experience life through someone else's lens, that was pretty memorable. I still, to this day, I think the moment that stuck with me, it was like Christmas Eve, and so they open gifts Christmas Eve. That's when the big party is. And when Abuela came and she was giving me what I perceived to be one of her prized possessions, and it was in this little box that had one of the saints on the box, and it was these beautiful earrings, and she gave them to me as my gift, and I was like, I just cried. Just tears. I
You
do.
still have listened? Oh, nice.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. So,
So
yeah.
I like the way that you lit up talking about Ben, right? And I
Yeah.
think that sometimes when we're just so focused on our kids and shaping their future and everything, that sometimes we may lose sight of those things or who we were, or it just seems like we put ourselves on the back burner, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're the last to take care of ourselves because we're taking care of our kids. So I just feel like it's kind of important to talk about then, like who you were and your journey to get to where you are. I don't know. That's something that I'm still discovering myself, right? So this is part of my new journey and my new purpose and everything. But I want to spend a little bit of time. I know we're not going to talk all night, right? We all have to work in the morning. So talk about the reclaim voice.
Yes. I wear a few different hats. So I talk about, my ADHD, which is probably what my career looks like too, but I love it. So I'm a professor. That's one part of my role. I'm also a coach and consultant. So I have my own boutique firm, Transformation Architects. For most of that work, I create value for other teams, other organizations, other leaders. But there was something on my heart, kind of like what you're doing here with the special mamas. I knew I wasn't alone. I was like, I've experienced some burnout. Like, I don't replenish myself enough. I thought about other neurodivergent moms, especially when we're parenting neurodivergent kiddos. Sometimes we can sacrifice our own needs. And like you said, I know like some people may not think of neurodivergent needs as being special needs. For me, anxiety feels like sometimes I'm having a heart attack,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
It's
Yes.
painful.
Yes.
But if my babies need something, I dismiss that, right?
Yeah.
Or my son, when he was he's still sensory seeking, but when he was sensory seeking and wanting to like rub my skin, and the way he rubbed it, in a way it made my skin feel like it was on fire.
Mm.
I can't deny my baby if this is what soothes
Yeah.
him, but at the same time I'm like
Right. Right.
crumbling on the inside. It's just like, oh God.
Right.
And it's hard to explain that because the general population will either A, think I'm being dramatic, not being a
It's
good mom.
overstimulating, right? It's overstimulating.
But
Moms
as
get it, but I understand. We get
so,
it. Mamas get it.
so I said, I design curriculums for the university. I design programs for all these companies. What if I did something that was at the intersection that I understand that's part of my everyday existence of my identity as a mom and my identity as being neurodivergent, diagnosis not required. What if there was a way to connect those two experiences, but we give back to other
Mhm.
women for 4 weeks? We say, hey, for 4 weeks, for an hour, it's all about you. This is all about us. And how we can talk about, not just talk about, but unpack some of those. I heard you say, how you're doing something that those dormant dreams, those ambitions with out any guilt. Like, let's
Mhm.
dream without limitations. Let's reimagine. Let's reclaim our energy, our vision, our voice, which is
Right.
sometimes muted. Like I'm telling you how about my experiences, and you would think, oh, I'm Dr. Miller. Maybe they'll pay attention to me or regard what I say as, with some type of, respect on my name and my credentials. But no. So, yeah, reclaiming the energy. I spoke earlier about how, before I was married, I was able to really study and tap into my natural body, my body's natural rhythms and pulse. I myself have gotten away from that.
Hmm.
I revisited it because I had a health scare, which is another reason why I formed the Reclaim Voice experience. When I was so burnt out and so depleted to the point where my body just gave up, I had a mini stroke a couple of years ago, and I'm too young for that, I think. And they
Yeah,
couldn't come up with any, there
like a
were,
cause for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
other than I just complete exhaustion, complete depletion, complete blah.
Right.
And because when our brains are already, we're working through being overstimulated, we're working through like super duper multiplicative processing always going on. We don't know how to take a break. Even if we did know how, we can't. Because
Right.
will the world stop? Maybe.
Mama never stops.
So I actually have on the website of the Reclaim Voice Beta Experience. It says, I just want to read this. Some days your brain feels like a browser with 100 open tabs.
Yeah.
You love your kids deeply and you're exhausted, because both can be true. That paradox. You're holding it all together while slowly losing pieces of yourself. And that mom guilt is learned. So I want to help us unlearn it. Masking is exhausting when we get out and, we have to put on, whether we're masking because of what we look like or what we present to the world, or because of what we're feeling on the inside, but not being able to present as our full selves. That's exhausting. That's emotional
Yes.
labor. And when you do that all the time without a reset, you can be on the point of, where I was. So that's what this is. It's a safe container, where I get to pour back into women I believe need it most.
So it seems like overwhelm and burnout, all moms experience it, right?
Yeah.
It seems like it may be experienced at a higher level as a special needs mom.
Yeah.
How can we process that, or without giving out too much information, because we do want to encourage people to check out the Reclaim Voice program. But is there maybe a tool that you can give a mom that is feeling overwhelmed and burned out and overstimulated because, your kid is stimming or touching you or needing your attention? Just something that we could use in the moment to ground ourselves or to relax or not to, I guess, to get out of our head and kind of focus back on our child without crashing out, for lack of better words.
Well, there's a couple of things. Just making peace with the boundaries that you have to set, even with your children. It's okay to say, Mommy needs 10 minutes. You can set
Hmm.
a timer for 10 minutes. So, 10 minutes, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then you take that 10 minutes for yourself, whether you need to do some deep breathing exercises. You mentioned grounding. I like to go outside when I need a quick reset, and I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Five, let me
Hmm.
notice, 5 things around me that I see in my environment, just so I can just can kind of get back present. Where 4 things that I smell, 3 things that I
Hmm.
hear. So just that, to me, that's something very simple that you can do a quick 10-minute reset of
Hmm.
just refocusing back on your energy, your rhythms, the gift of the environment that God has given us, focusing on like, can you hear your own breath right now? Can you hear your own needs? Give yourself a
Hmm.
hug.
Hmm.
So those
Hmm.
are some quick resets that I think of, but also setting boundaries. I had to practice it just now before I got on this call. My son came in, he was really excited about this junk. I said, Mommy's doing something for Mommy. I'm going to talk to a friend. I need 1 hour.
Hmm.
He said, okay, but can I? Okay, but can I? So I said, that was our compromise. I will give you 30 seconds for you to show me what is so crucial at this point.
Right.
I gave him that 30 seconds. I said, now remember our compromise. So it's like, so that they know I'm not going to dismiss your needs. I'm going to take
Boundaries.
out of the 24 hours a day that I probably give and think about you, I'm going to take this 1 hour.
Right. So what I hear you saying is boundaries are important. So set a boundary, ground yourself. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a quick way to do it. And I struggle with that because I feel so guilty
Mm-hmm.
about having to take a moment. My daughter, she's almost 3 and she has cerebral palsy. She's nonverbal. She whines a lot. And the sound, it goes from 0 to 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly. And it's like a siren. And the anxiety when it happens just overwhelms me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have found myself because she can sit unsupported, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's in front of TV watching her Blippy or Coco Melon or something. So I had to learn like she's okay. She can
Yeah.
sit there for 5 minutes. Let me just, step away, go step outside or go in the room, just to breathe or scream or whatever it is I need to do, right? But I used
Yes.
to feel so guilty about it, about just
Yes.
not having her in my sight at
And
all
and let
times.
me ask you this. What was the source of the feeling guilty?
Just stepping away to take some time for myself. I just felt like I have to be there for her all the time, right?
But who said
Because she
that?
needs you. Me, right. I don't know where I got that from. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
where I got it from.
So that's part of
I
the
don't know where I got
unlearning
it from.
thing. We have to think about what is the origins of these should do's and supposed to's that when we do what we know we need to do, even though logically we know like, okay, 5 minutes, her watching Blippy, she gonna be all right for 5 minutes.
Right.
No harm is gonna come to her. So that's the thing. You say that's another thing I've learned to do. Like, what's the worst that can happen if I take these 5 minutes that I need for me?
Right.
Are they fed? Are they clothed? Have they been nurtured today?
Right.
What's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna scream. Can I be at peace with that? Especially if I just go in the closet for a second.
Right.
Can I be okay with that? Will they probably melt down? Probably. If they're in a contained space, if they melt down, are they gonna be safe? Okay, I can take this 5 minutes.
So a little bit more about the reclaimed voice beta experience. Where can people go to get more information about it? And when they sign up for the beta experience, what will they come away with at the end of it?
Ooh. So they can go to reclaimedvoice.transformationarchitects.co or to my Instagram at transformationarchitects.co. Or me, I'm Carliss Miller. I think there's maybe one other person with my name. I would say what people would get out of coming to the Reclaim Voice is a sense of peace and reclamation of and community of knowing you're not alone. Yes, you might be experiencing something that the world may not understand, and yeah, there may be some people, like we talk about guilt and shame, there may be some people who are legit trying to make you feel shame for what you feel or for what you're experiencing, or they may try to dismiss your experiences or minimize your experiences. So what you gain is a safe container where none of that's going down with us. Week one, we're going to talk about how to clear the static and reclaim your energy. I'm going to show you, provide a tool of how to track your energy highs and lows, so you can be able to recognize when you have some energy drains and put a plug in those drains because we need our energy. Two, it's going to be about unmasking your magic and reclaiming your voice. So, exploring again, what are those ambitions that may be dormant that you may have not given yourself permission to explore anymore because you're a mom and you're a mom to a child with unique needs that need you more. All our kids need us, but the
Yeah.
demand may be, we may have a few more things that we're juggling there.
Right.
Week three is going to be how to flow without guilt. How to reclaim your rhythm, designing rhythms that flow with your desires as well as your child's needs, and how to protect your energy and set those boundaries in ways that are an expression of love for yourself and for others. And then we'll wrap up with reclaiming your vision. We will literally write the script, write the letter to our past and future selves, and revisit some of those dreams or create new ones, however things unfold. So you get community, you get tools, and you get you. You get time
Hmm.
with you.
Hmm. That is amazing. I love that. And I am positive, 100% positive that the moms listening, because I know a lot of moms will hear this, that they are seeing themselves in you and recognizing themselves in you, and they are curious about the program. And I do think that, as you said, we do have similar missions, right? I look forward to working with you, and it definitely sounds like this is something that I need to sign up for, even though I have not um, taken any tests to receive a diagnosis. I can pretty much diagnose myself with ADHD. Definitely. I do have a hard time focusing. I have so many tabs that are always open, and I struggle with like the guilt, the rejection, procrastination, which it sounds like it might not necessarily be procrastination. It's just how to organize and how to focus. So, thank you so much, Dr. Miller, for the information. And I will put all of your information up on our podcast about how to find you on Facebook, on Instagram, on all the socials. And I will also put the link up about the Reclaim Voice Beta experience. Right?
Yes, I really appreciate that. And then also, I'll just one quick shameless plug. If for anyone that goes to my website, transformationarchitects.co, you can also get to Reclaim Voice from there. I do have a freebie because you asked me about some tools. So anytime I
Yes.
come up with some framework or a tool or a life hack that works for me, I someone said you should share that with people. Just make it pretty. I was like, oh, okay. So I have one out there. It's called the Grow Your Day. How to it's like just a day planner. Like when your brain works like mine, you're like, I just need to think, how do I get unstuck with all of these competing priorities, and what can I
Yes.
prioritize today to feel like I did good today. So that's on the website, and that's a freebie for anyone that wants it.
Awesome. I will get that link from you and I will put it up as well. I function on checklist and it makes me feel like I'm doing something right. I might not, right? Every day at work, I have a checklist. And sometimes the next day's checklist is just a repeat of the day before checklist. But if I could check off one thing, then I feel like I'm doing good. So that's my own way of trying to focus, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, pat on the back for that. Well, thank you all for joining my very first episode of Super Special Mamas, a community where super special mamas of super special kids can feel seen, can feel heard. You can come and laugh and cry, relax, relate, release whatever you have to do without the guilt. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you all. Make sure you like and subscribe to Super Special Mamas on all socials. Make sure you subscribe to Dr. Carliss Miller on social media, everywhere you can follow her. There's
Yes.
only not that many Dr. Carliss Millers, right? So
No.
you'll be able to find her. And any last words? And
No.
I think this is a good conversation because it really made me feel like I'm not crazy. Right?
Yes.
So,
I think that would be my word or of inspiration is a mean trick is isolation, and to feel like you're alone, even though you may feel isolated. So my encouragement would be to continue to step out in courage, step out in faith, just like you did here with this podcast, to by putting it out there to find other courageous moms like yourself so that we can be nurtured and supported and so we can thrive. If all of us took a step like that, we wouldn't feel so isolated. We wouldn't be so burnt out. We wouldn't be so depleted. So my word of encouragement would be just, hey, it's okay to need someone and know that we need you. And if you need some support, we got you.
yes, we got you. Yes, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Carlos Miller, for joining us on Super Special Mamas. And we will see you all on our next episode.